As you get older, you realize a terrifying truth about the way we spend our days on this earth. We willingly trade the most vibrant, breathing years of our existence for things we cannot take with us, building invisible prisons out of our own ambitions. We keep secrets from our neighbors, from our spouses, and sometimes even from our own children, just to maintain the illusion that we have it all figured out. But the heaviest secret of all is the realization that the race we have been running our entire lives might have been leading us in the wrong direction all along. My name is Robert. I am 78 years old. I live in Eureka, California, and if you were to look up my name in any public record, you would not find a single thing worth mentioning. I rent a small piece of land near the ocean. You might hear my voice and feel a little bit of pity creeping into your heart. You might think about your own life, your own struggles, and assume that this poor old man must have made some terrible, life-altering mistakes along the way to end up with nothing at the end of the road. But I did not make a mistake. I did this entirely on purpose. I orchestrated this failure, and I am going to tell you a secret today that the people running this world, the people signing your pension checks, the people selling you the American dream, they are absolutely terrified of you finding out. I am going to tell you why losing the game is the only way you actually survive this life. But it took me years to truly understand the choice I made and the real cost of walking away. Let me take you back to a completely different world. Let me take you back to the late 1960s. You probably look at my weathered face and my simple clothes and think I am just some uneducated drifter, right? Just a guy who simply could not cut it in the real world. Well, when I was a young man, I was 22 years old, and I had a full-ride scholarship to one of the most prestigious law schools on the East Coast. I was a prodigy, or so my professors and my father told me. I was always at the top of my class. I was the golden boy from a respectable family, destined to become a very important man. On the first day of orientation, I walked into this massive, beautiful Gothic building. The air smelled of old paper and serious intentions. I stood there in the grand hallway and I looked around at the other boys. They were all wearing these sharp, perfectly tailored little suits. Their shoes were polished to a mirror shine, but I did not look at their clothes. I looked directly into their eyes. And what I saw sent a shiver down my spine. They looked like cattle walking willingly into a slaughterhouse. They were absolutely terrified. They were terrified of not being number one. They were terrified of what their strict fathers would think if they did not make partner at a major law firm by the time they turned 30. They were sweating, shifting their weight, already hyperventilating with anxiety. And the race had not even officially started yet. I walked into the main lecture hall. I found my seat. I sat down in that hard, heavy wooden chair. I sat there for exactly 14 minutes. The dean was speaking at the front of the room, talking about prestige, about duty, about the immense wealth and power that awaited us if we simply dedicated every waking moment of our lives to the firm. And in that quiet moment, sitting in that wooden chair, I realized something profound. If I stayed in that seat, if I took the notes and passed the exams and played the game, I would be handing them a blank check for my entire existence. I would be trading my one singular, unrepeatable human life for a title on a frosted glass door. So without saying a word, I stood up. I walked right out of those heavy wooden doors. I walked across the manicured lawn. I took off my expensive silk tie and I threw it into a public trash can. I walked to the highway, stuck out my thumb, and I hitched a ride all the way across the country to the coast of California. My parents did not speak to me for 10 years after that day. The silence from my father was a heavy blanket that smothered our family. They told everyone in our hometown that I had lost my mind. They told their friends that I had thrown my bright, beautiful life away. But I did not throw it away. I saved it. I rescued it from the fire. I spent the next 60 years working the most unremarkable jobs you can imagine. I flipped burgers in roadside diners. I played an old acoustic guitar on street corners for spare change. I worked at lumber mills up here in Eureka, smelling the fresh-cut pine. I bartended in sleepy beach towns where nobody asked about your past. I made exactly enough money to buy a simple dinner, pay my meager rent, and enjoy a cheap beer on the porch as the sun went down. And when I woke up every single morning, the time stretching out before me belonged entirely to me. Nobody owned my Tuesday. Nobody dictated my Friday. I thought I had completely escaped the pressure of the world, but life always has a way of showing you the alternative. Let me tell you about my roommate from that very first day at the law school. A bright, ambitious boy named William. William was from a good family, just like me. But William stayed in that wooden chair. He listened to the dean. He played the game beautifully, exactly as he was supposed to. He graduated at the top of the class. He became a high-powered corporate attorney. He made millions upon millions of dollars. He bought the massive, sprawling mansion in Connecticut with the perfect green lawn. He bought the gorgeous summer home out in the Hamptons. He married a beautiful woman who looked like she stepped out of a magazine. He flew on private jets to meetings in London and Tokyo. By every standard of our generation, William was an absolute winner. He was the man our fathers wanted us to be. But there are secrets hidden behind the walls of those mansions. William died of a massive, catastrophic, stress-induced heart attack at exactly 52 years old. He did not die surrounded by loved ones. He dropped dead on the floor of his corner office, completely alone, surrounded by imported mahogany wood and expensive Italian leather furniture. He was working on a Sunday evening. His beautiful wife had already left him years prior. She left because he was working 80 hours a week and was never home. His children, the ones he supposedly built this empire for, they did not even shed a tear at his beautiful, expensive funeral. They stood there in black coats, looking at a stranger's casket because they barely knew the man. He was a ghost in their lives, a provider of funds, but never a father. William spent 30 years of his life carrying a 1,000-pound boulder up a jagged mountain, bleeding and sweating, just so society would stand at the bottom and clap for him. And the weight of that boulder crushed his chest. It killed him. People look at my rusted trailer and my worn-out shoes, and they call me a failure. But I am 78 years old. I am sitting here, breathing the cool ocean air. I watch the fog roll in over the redwoods every single evening, and my heart beats slow, steady, and easy. William won the game. He got the high score. But what in God's name did he actually win? He traded his actual breathing, sensory life for pieces of paper and a fancy title. You see, society plays this massive, incredibly cruel trick on you from the moment you are born. They convince you, through advertisements and movies and the subtle judgment of your neighbors, that wealth is about accumulation. They teach you that success is about gathering things, hoarding resources, building a fortress of possessions. But things are incredibly heavy. When you buy a massive multi-bedroom house to impress people you do not even like, you do not actually own that house. That house owns you entirely. It dictates your life. You have to spend your weekends cleaning it. You have to pay exorbitant taxes on it. You have to insure it against every possible disaster. You lay awake at 2 a.m, your chest tight with anxiety, worrying about the roof leaking or the foundation cracking. You have to stay at a miserable, soul-crushing job that you actively hate, taking abuse from people you do not respect, just to pay the massive mortgage on a house you were never even in, because you were always away at work trying to pay for it. It is absolute, blinding insanity, and we all just accept it as normal. I live in a tiny tin can. I can touch both walls if I stretch out my arms. But if the neighbors get too loud, or if I simply do not like the view out of my window anymore, I do not panic. I step outside. I hook the trailer up to the hitch of my old truck, and I drive down the coast to Big Sur, or I head east into the desert. When you have absolutely nothing to your name, you suddenly realize that you have everything. You have the whole world. It is what I like to call the empty backpack theory of life. Imagine you are walking up a massive, beautiful, scenic hill. The trail is long, but the air is sweet. Who is going to actually enjoy the hike? Who is going to notice the wildflowers and the way the light filters through the trees? The guy carrying 100 pounds of solid gold on his back, sweating, groaning, staring at the dirt, terrified someone will steal his heavy burden. Or the guy carrying absolutely nothing but a simple canteen of water, whistling at the birds and the trees. I dropped the heavy gold back in the 1960s. I left it in a trash can on a college campus, and I swear to you, I have been floating ever since. The gravity of this world simply does not apply to me anymore. And now as an old man, I look around at the world today. I look at the younger generations, and I look at people my own age who are still trapped in the cycle, and it truly breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because the pressure has only gotten worse. When I was young, you only had the pressure of your parents, or maybe the judgment of the neighbors peering through their curtains. But today you carry a glowing machine in your pocket that constantly compares your quiet, normal life to the highlighted artificial lives of 8 billion other people. You cannot escape the judgment. It follows you into your bedroom every second of the day. You have these people on the internet, these young influencers, and even older folks trying to keep up, and all they talk about is optimizing. Everything must be optimized. They are tracking their deep sleep with expensive computers strapped to their wrists. They are waking up at 4 a.m. to sit in freezing ice baths just to prove they have discipline. They are constantly talking about building a personal brand. Just think about that phrase for a moment. A personal brand. You are a living, breathing human being, for God's sake. You have a soul. You are not a box of laundry detergent sitting on a supermarket shelf, waiting to be purchased. Why are you trying to market yourself? You are punishing yourselves every single day. You are trying to take your beautiful, organic, messy, unpredictable human life and forcefully mold it into a perfectly efficient, tireless machine. You are just trying to be a better, longer-lasting battery for the matrix that consumes you. And for what? What is the end goal of all this frantic optimization? So you can get to the very end of your life, lying in a hospital bed, and say to yourself, well, I never actually stopped to enjoy a single Tuesday afternoon. I never watched the clouds pass. But boy, my productivity metrics were absolutely off the charts. It is a profound sickness of the modern soul. You are sprinting as fast as you can on a treadmill that has no off switch. The faster you run, the faster it goes, and you are utterly terrified of falling off. You are terrified of being seen as lazy or unproductive. But let me tell you what actual wealth really looks like. I want you to listen closely because you will never ever learn this in any business school or corporate seminar. Wealth is not a number in a bank account. Wealth is not dreading the arrival of Monday morning. True wealth is waking up at 8 in the morning on a random weekday. It is opening your eyes, looking up at the ceiling, feeling the warmth of the blankets, and realizing with total clarity that nobody on this entire crowded planet requires you to do a damn thing that you do not want to do. Nobody is waiting for your email. Nobody is expecting you in a meeting. Wealth is the absolute absence of that tight, burning knot of anxiety in the center of your stomach. I do not have a retirement plan. I do not have a safety net of cash, but I have spent the last 6 decades living richly. I have spent thousands of afternoons reading thick paperbacks under the shade of ancient oak trees, listening to the wind rustle the leaves. I have had deep, profound 3-hour conversations with complete strangers, sitting at diner counters at midnight, drinking black coffee and sharing the stories of our broken hearts. I have sat on the porch of my trailer and watched the winter rain fall for hours, feeling the damp chill in the air without feeling a single ounce of guilt that I was not out there hustling or grinding or being productive. I was simply existing, and that is enough. You think failure is the absolute worst thing that can happen to you in this life. You think if you do not get that promotion you applied for, your life is over. You think if you have to drive a 10-year-old car with a dent in the door while your neighbor drives a brand new luxury sedan, that you are somehow worthless. You think if you downsize your life, people will laugh at you. Listen to me very carefully. Failure is nothing but a word. It is a concept invented by a society that needs you to keep working. Failure is just the word they use for people they can no longer control. When you stop caring about status, when you stop caring about what the neighbors think of your clothes or your car, your boss can no longer threaten you. What can they possibly take away from a man who desires nothing? When you have absolutely nothing left to protect, no image to uphold, no social standing to maintain, you become completely bulletproof. They cannot hurt you anymore. I am sitting here today, an old man in a rusted tin can in the foggy quiet of Northern California. The world has forgotten about me, and I have happily forgotten about the world. And I am giving you a profound gift today. It is a gift I wish someone had given my friend William before his heart gave out in that cold office. I am giving you permission. I am giving you the permission to just give up. I know that sounds terrifying, but give up the endless, exhausting chase. Put down the heavy burden. Stop twisting yourself into knots trying to impress people who are secretly just as miserable, exhausted, and terrified as you are. They do not have it figured out either. They are just better at hiding the pain behind expensive clothes and forced smiles. If you were sitting there right now, maybe you were in your 50s or 60s, and you want to quit that high-paying, prestigious job. That job that makes your chest hurt every single Sunday night when the sun goes down. That job that keeps you away from your spouse, that makes you irritable and tired. Quit. Just walk away. The world will not end. The sun will still rise tomorrow. If you want to sell the big empty house and move to a quiet little small town where nobody knows your name. If you want to work a few days a week in a local hardware store, sweeping the floors and helping folks find the right size screws. If you want to spend your weekends painting terrible watercolors by a lake, or just sitting on a porch watching the grass grow, do it. Reclaim your time. Reclaim your breathing life. Yes, the people you leave behind will call you a loser. The people at the country club will whisper about you behind your back. They will shake their heads and say you lost your mind, just like my parents did all those years ago. Let them. Let them talk. Let them have the prestigious corner office with the view of the concrete city. Let them have the chronic high blood pressure and the sleepless nights. Let them have the sudden heart attacks at 52. Let them drown slowly in the suffocating waters of their own magnificent success. You do not have to drown with them. You can step off the boat. You can swim to the quiet shore. You, my friend, you take the freedom. You take the quiet mornings and the peaceful nights. You take the joy of an empty calendar and a light backpack. It is never too late to walk out of the heavy wooden doors of expectations. Whether you are 22 or 62, the door is always unlocked. You just have to be brave enough to turn the handle. I have lived my life on my own terms, and as the shadows grow long and my time draws to a close, I have absolutely zero regrets. None. I will see you at the bottom, my friends. I promise you, the view down here, away from the noise and the ladders and the endless climbing, is truly spectacular. It is peaceful, it is quiet, and it is finally real. So I have to ask you, looking back at everything you have built and everything you carry, what would you do if you were in my shoes? Would you put the backpack down? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I read them all. I really want to know your thoughts. And please, remember to take care of yourselves and truly cherish the ones you love.